want your hair on my shoulder. I wanna breathe in now, feeling our hands getting bolder somehow, somehow. Hey, I'm Jeffrey Pepper Rogers here for acoustic guitar with a lesson on writing songs with guitar. So this is my Manzer guitar that I feel very lucky to play and write songs with. And as a songwriter, I really look at my guitar as doing much more than just accompanying my voice or filling in the chords. I really look at it as a co-writer, as a partner in the songwriting process. Many of my songs begin with riffs and grooves discovered on the guitar, like that one I just played in the intro. And this is also where I go when I have an idea away from the guitar. I go back to the instrument to sketch it out and figure out how to develop that idea into a complete song. So in this lesson, I'm going to be talking about ways to make the most out of the guitar in the writing process and share a few examples from my own songs. So let's get started. One way to write a song is to essentially remake another song. So you learn how to play a song that you like, you take a little piece of it and you change it in some way. And whether on purpose or by accident, you kind of arrive at your own song, at something new. Sounds a little bit like it might be stealing, but it's really not. Remixing ideas from other songs, really any other art form, is fundamental to the creative process. So let me share a couple examples of my own songs that started like this. So one song idea for me came out of fooling around with the Kinks song, You Really Got Me. So a little piece of that goes like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So, great song. I was fooling around with it though. I like to come up with different ways to play songs sometimes for arrangements. Got into drop D tuning, capo at the 5th fret, and I wound up playing this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that was a really fun way to play the Kinks song, but it also led me to those fingerings, which I liked. And at some point down the road, I was just fooling around with those very same fingerings. I was still in drop D tuning, moved the capo down a couple frets, and I wound up with this groove. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I loved that groove and played it over and over again for a really long time and eventually started singing something over it. So just spontaneously I came up with these lines. I am almost certain that I'm almost there, almost across the line. And with that, I was off writing a song that became a song called Almost There. I really didn't have an idea about what I was writing about. I was just responding to the feel of that groove on the guitar. And at this point, what I'm playing sounds nothing like the Kinks song anymore, but that is what got it started. 1, 2, 3, 4. So because I had come up with that arrangement, I was going between F sharp and E, and it was kind of an unusual chord change I hadn't really done before, and it caught my ear, And eventually I took that exact same change, and I came up with something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it became a song called Proof. I've been so certain I know what I've known. I felt the barb on a wire. Again, it doesn't sound anything like Fire on the Mountain anymore, but that was what led me to this new song. When you're working with an existing song, there are a lot of aspects of it you can play around with to come up with your own idea. You can change the rhythm, you can change the register you play it in. If it's down low, you can put it up high on the neck. You can change the tempo or the key. When you're talking about chord progressions, one thing that really helps is to understand chord progressions by number rather than just by chord name. That really makes it much easier to take an idea from one song and apply it to another key or another song. I think the thing that you really want to keep in mind is that you want to change the idea that you took from another song until you can't really hear the original song, can't really hear the source in your head anymore. And that suggests that you've crossed that line that you want to cross from imitation to creation. Those songs are really about patterns. You essentially make a pattern of melody or harmony or rhythm, and you create variations on it. And the pattern is what makes a song hang together. So the guitar can really help you find those patterns and work with them. So here are a couple examples. So to return for a second to the example of the song Almost There, which started with this. So the movement there is between, so D, which is the 1 chord, down to C. So it goes down a step and then back up again. That is creating a little pattern which then can be applied to another chord. So a natural place to go is to the G, which is the 4 chord here, and go between G and F. Down a step, back up a step. So putting those things together, applying the pattern, wind up with this, which becomes the basis of the whole verse in the song. 1, 2, 3, 4. One other thing you'll notice there when I was playing this, one thing I noticed when I started playing that is there's a little melody coming out of the guitar there, just from the way I'm fingering that. So I wound up singing it. Ooh yeah, ooh yeah. I wound up using that in the song, a melodic idea that really just comes directly out of the guitar. Let me give you another example from a song called I've Got It Here Somewhere, which began with this kind of blues riff, capo at the 5th fret. 1, 2, 3, 4. So with that, I'm playing this E fingering, going up to the 3rd fret above the capo on the 6th string. So that's creating a little pattern. So next place to go with that, to this A fingering, but I'm also going to go from the A down to that note, 3 frets above the capo on the 6th string again. So it's taking that pattern and applying it. So here's what you get when you put those two moves together. 1, 2, 3, 4. So as in the previous example with my song Almost There, sometimes the guitar can suggest melodies for the vocal. And sometimes it even suggests an entire melody, which is what happened with this next song. This is the thing that I played in drop D tuning on my guitar. So this is from the song Somehow, and here's the little guitar line that started the whole thing in drop D tuning. 1, 2, 3, 4. So really, my job, I wanted to sing that line, and my job as a songwriter was to try to find words that matched the feeling and the phrasing of what I was playing on guitar. And here's a little piece of what it came out to be in the first verse. 1, 2, 3, 4. I want your hair on my shoulder. I want to breathe in now. Feeling our hands getting bolder somehow. A couple of other thoughts about working with melodies. One is that when you're figuring out a vocal melody, I think it's a really good idea to play the melody on the guitar, and you might be able to find ways to strengthen it that wouldn't have occurred to you while you were singing it. Sometimes you can hear it a little differently when you're just playing it on the guitar and not singing. The other thought is just to pay attention to the relationship between the melody and the chords. If you're singing a melody and you find that you're on the root of the chord all the time, maybe consider taking the melody off of the root and putting it on a different note in the chord. Or you could leave the melody the same and play a different chord underneath it, so you're changing that relationship between the melody and the harmony. Sometimes you can develop a song idea by pure experimentation on the guitar, really just dropping your fingers on the fingerboard in some unfamiliar pattern and seeing what happens, or listening to what happens. And that was the way I found the bridge in my song called I've Got It Here Somewhere. It started off with this chord, an A sus2, and then the rest of it I found by just trying different bass notes under this chord, really without knowing what chords I was playing. I figured that out later, but I was really just putting my fingers down and listening to what happened. And it led me to an idea I probably wouldn't have found otherwise. 1, 2, 3, 4. Finally, alternate tunings can be a great way to generate ideas, get you out of familiar patterns on the guitar, and also they have this way of making even common chord progressions sound unfamiliar and new, which is a great kind of space to be in for songwriting. So I don't use a lot of alternate tunings, but I do have a growing number of songs that have the bass strings tuned down. And this next example I'll share comes from this tuning with the 6th string down to C and the 5th string at G, and the rest in standard tuning. And it led to this funky bass line that I started singing over and fell in love with, and led to a song called My Bad. And totally made possible by the tuning. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. One, two, 1, 2, 3, 4. I should mention too that another way you can get into alternate tuning type effects without actually retuning is to use a partial capo. So here's a Planet Waves capo, partial capo, that's designed to cover 5 strings and leave 1 uncapoed. And this is a shub that's for capoing 3 strings. And these are can be great for songwriting. They put you in a different zone and make different things possible on the guitar. I have a growing number of songs that I have written thanks to partial capos too. One final thought is that it's also a good idea to get away from the guitar in the writing process sometimes. You could try just singing your song without any accompaniment. You could record a guitar part on your phone and listen while you're walking or in the car and just try to sing over it while you're not playing. That can be a freeing way to hear melodies sometimes. Maybe you'll get some different ideas, and then you can come back to your guitar and figure out how to make them happen. So once again, for Acoustic Guitar, I'm Jeffrey Pepper Rogers, and thanks for tuning in. Happy writing.